Yo, what is good people, Ben from Lover of Tech, and we are back with another video. This time, camera comparison between Pixel 8 Pro, iPhone 15 Pro Max, Huawei P60 Pro, and also the Galaxy S23 Ultra. As if doing a two-way and a three-way camera comparison wasn't difficult enough, we are doing a four-way to see how these cameras perform in daylight and low light for videos and pictures. So, quick breakdown of the camera specs, and then into the camera comparison. A quick public service announcement and interlude to let you know that the best way to watch this video is at the highest resolution and frame rate at 4K 60 with headphones on the largest display possible. There will be, of course, chapters linked in the description below, but it's definitely worth sitting back, relaxing, getting your popcorn, getting your meal, getting your drink, and watching it beginning to end, because this is an interesting one when it comes to this camera comparison. Of course, all details when it comes to camera specs will be in the description or linked to the official websites. But to not make this video any longer than it is, let's get back into the main camera comparison. Another quick disclaimer note is when it specifically comes to the front-facing selfie camera for video section, because of how things mirrored in camera between the P60 Pro from Huawei and the Galaxy S23 Ultra, they are swapped. Please pay attention to the labeling, but when it comes to the rear cameras, they are in the position in sequence. I am gonna have B-roll for you to see how I ordered everything together, where from the far left was the Galaxy S23 Ultra, then the Pixel 8 Pro, then followed by the iPhone 15 Pro Max, then the Huawei P60 Pro on the far right. This is the actual order of sequencing, and it's effective for the rear cameras, but when looking at the front-facing cameras, because of how they're mirrored, just to make the visual representation look clean and well presented for this video, the Huawei and Samsung are swapped. But please just pay attention to the labeling going forward. I wanted to put it out there, and I will pause it to pretty much notify it if I have to. So we are starting off with the front-facing camera on the Pixel 8 Pro, iPhone 15 Pro Max, Huawei P60 Pro, and the Galaxy S23 Ultra, recording in the 4K UHD 60 frames per second video recorder mode, and just seeing how the image quality is like, stabilization, colors, details, and of course dynamic range. Quick front. We are now recording in the 4K UHD 30 frames per second video recorder mode on the Pixel 8 Pro, iPhone 15 Pro Max, Huawei P60 Pro, and the Galaxy S23 Ultra. Seeing how the image quality changes, details, sharpness, colors, dynamic range, and video stabilization. Quick run. We're still recording in the 4K UHD 30 frames per second video recorder mode on the front-facing camera on the Pixel 8 Pro, iPhone 15 Pro Max, Huawei P60 Pro, and the Galaxy S23 Ultra. Difference here is that the iPhone 15 Pro Max and the Galaxy S23 Ultra do allow you to do the video portrait mode, cinematic video background blur, up to 4K 30 on a front-facing camera. The Pixel 8 Pro and the Huawei P60 Pro do not have this option for the front-facing camera. They do have it on the rear camera, which I will demonstrate later, but the front-facing camera, this is favored on the iPhone 15 Pro Max and the Galaxy S23 Ultra. As demonstrated before, while you're recording on the Galaxy S23 Ultra, you can increase the blur, remove the blur, set it back to the default 5, have different blur effects while you're recording. You can't change it after you finish recording. The iPhone 15 Pro Max does allow you to change the blur intensity, blur position after you finish recording, but during recording you can't, but before you record you can. So these are the flexibility options on both the Samsung and the iPhone 15 Pro Max, and this is something that is lacking completely on the Pixel 8 Pro and the Huawei P60 Pro. Quick note is, as mentioned earlier, now you're looking at the rear cameras. The Samsung is on the far left again, and then the Huawei P60 Pro is on the far right. For the selfies, they were swapped, but for the rear cameras, they're back in their normal position, as showed with the position of the phones in the B-roll. Now continue with the video. We are now recording in the 4K UHD 30 frames per second video recorder mode on the rear cameras on the Pixel 8 Pro, iPhone 15 Pro Max, Huawei P60 Pro, and the Galaxy S23 Ultra. Just seeing how the image quality is like, colors, details, sharpness, dynamic range, and of course, video stabilization. Quick run. We're going to switch to the ultra wide on all 4 cameras, as we do have that flexibility while recording on the same clip. We've now switched to the ultra wide. Quick run. Let's move to 1x, 1x, 1x. Now we're going to go 2x, 2x, 2x. There isn't a 2x mode as such on Huawei, so we do have to crop in. Just doing a slow walk. We're going to go into the 3x mode. Just trying to nail the 3x on each, so bear with me. Alright, we've aligned the 3x mode on all 3, just more because of the Galaxy S23 Ultra. Doing a slow walk. Okay, so it's going to be interesting. $5x on the Pixel, $5x on the iPhone, $4x on the Huawei. I'm just going to do that. Again, just seeing how positioning and the image quality is like. Then we're going to go into 10x. 10x. Quite hard on the stability. 10x. 10x. And again, I'm just going to have to reframe and reposition as best as I can, just because of the position of the lenses and where they are in terms of the image quality. Okay, let's come back to 1x, 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 1x. Just a couple of things to consider when you're doing 4K UHD 30 frames a second video recording on all the camera systems. The Pixel 8 Pro, Huawei P60 Pro, and the Galaxy S23 Ultra do allow you to pause recording and continue recording on the same clip. They also allow you to take pictures while recording on the same clip. The benefit you get is the Galaxy S23 Ultra. I've praised it and I will keep praising it for the most flexible and usable 4K recording at 30 frames a second on any smartphone. You can switch to the selfie camera while recording on the same clip. Again, 4K 30, continuous recording on the same clip. You can flip to the selfie, take pictures, pause, continue, and then flip back to the rear cameras and continue recording. We are now recording in the 4K UHD 60 frames a second video recorder mode on the Pixel 8 Pro, iPhone 15 Pro Max, Huawei P60 Pro, and the Galaxy S23 Ultra. Just seeing how the image quality changes when we go up to the 4K 60 recorder mode. Stabilization as well. Quick run. Here's a couple of things to consider when it comes to recording continuously in 4K 60 on all 4 camera systems. And it's more of a limitation on the Galaxy S23 Ultra, which I really hope come the S24 series, this is something they rectify and fix, because this is not an issue entirely on the other three camera systems. iPhone 15 Pro Max and the 50 and the Pixel 8 Pro allow you to switch to the ultra wide without having to stop recording and go in 4K 60. Now, unfortunately, it looks like there is no 4K 60 option at all on the ultra wide on the P60 Pro, but you can switch to the zoom lens on there without having to stop recording, which is great to see. But there isn't any 4K 60 option on the ultra wide, where you can see on here with the iPhone and the Pixel, you do not have to stop recording when you want to go into the zoom, the dedicated zoom lenses. This is the same benefit that you get on the Huawei P60 Pro. You cannot do this on the Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra, and I hope they rectify this. We're still in 4K UHD 60 frames a second. We've just switched to the ultra wide on the Galaxy S23 Ultra. Of course, we have to pause and stop recording completely to be able to switch the lenses. Again, there just isn't a 60 frames a second option at all on the P60 Pro, even in 1080p, which is a shame. But again, you've got it on the others. And just seeing how the image quality is like, we've just had to remain in the 1x mode for the P60 Pro. Quick run. Still in the 4K UHD 60 frames a second video recording mode. We're just looking at the 2x crop and just seeing how the image quality differences match up between the four camera systems. No running in this one because we're in the zoom mode. Still recording in the 4K UHD 60 frames a second video recording mode on all four camera systems. We're in the 3x mode. Again, this is just a match to the 3x optical zoom on the Galaxy S23 Ultra. The others are doing a digital crop on their main camera sensors.
Yes, boss. How you doing?
What's good, man? What are you saying? Yep, that's someone that locally sees me doing these camera comparisons in the park a lot, so it's good to see. We're now in the 4x mode. Again, this is more to match up against the P60 Pro in 4K UHD 60 frames a second. Okay, what we're going to do is go into 5x, 5x, 5x. And we're going to crop in slightly in the 5x mode. And just see how the image quality is like.
Yeah.
Again, this is more to match the optical quality of the Pixel 8 Pro and the iPhone 15 Pro Max. We've now gone into the 10x mode. Again, more for the benefit of the Galaxy S23 Ultra. Still in 4K UHD 60 frames a second. And we're just going to try and frame them best we can. And of course, this changes slightly just based on the optical positions of the physical lenses when using the dedicated zoom. So again, doing the best I can. We are now recording in the 8K 30 frames a second video recorder mode on the Galaxy S23 Ultra. And this is compared to the 4K 30 on the Pixel 8 Pro, iPhone 15 Pro Max, and Huawei P60 Pro. Just seeing how the image quality difference is like. This is a great showing from Samsung, really allowing you to utilize all of the high resolution greatness that comes to the main 200 megapixel sensor. Quick one. We're now recording in the 4K UHD 30 frames per second video recorder mode, and we're using this on the rear cameras, starting with the main camera sensors in 4K 30. Again, just with me in the frame as the subject, just seeing how it handles the image quality, detail and sharpness. Again, I don't have the usual help I would have, so I'm just making do and trying to get all the different scenarios in here for you. Still recording in a 4K UHD 30 frames per second. We've just switched to the ultra-wide lens as they are available to record in 4K 30 on all the camera systems on the ultra-wide. We're now recording in a 4K UHD 60 frames per second video recorder mode on all 4 camera systems, just on the main wide sensor. Again, there is no 60 frames per second option available on the P60 Pro, even in 1080p or 720p. So we're just going to be sticking to the main wide sensor just so they're all comparable. So we're still recording in a 4K UHD 60 frames per second video recorder mode on the Pixel 8 Pro, iPhone 15 Pro Max, Huawei P60 Pro and the Galaxy S23 Ultra. The difference here is with the Pixel 8 Pro, iPhone 15 Pro Max and the Galaxy S23 Ultra, you do have the option for 4K 60 on the ultra wide. We are still in the 1x mode on the Huawei P60 Pro. There just isn't a 60 FPS mode for the ultra wide, whether it be in 1080p, 720p or 4K. So we are now in their respective video portrait mode on the main camera on the Pixel 8 Pro, the iPhone 15 Pro Max, Huawei P60 Pro and the Galaxy S23 Ultra. As stated from before, the Galaxy S23 Ultra and the iPhone 15 Pro Max do allow you to do this in 4K UHD 30 frames per second. I am self-shooting at the moment, but with the Galaxy S23 Ultra you can go through the different portrait effects, reduce the blur, increase the blur. The iPhone doesn't allow you to do this while you're recording, but you can obviously do this before you start recording and after you finish recording in edit, which shows how powerful it is in post-production. Both the Huawei P60 Pro and the Pixel 8 Pro are limited to just 1080p, 24 FPS, no 4K option, no 30 FPS option. So we're now recording in the 8K 30 frames per second video recorder mode on the Galaxy S23 Ultra, comparing it to the 4K 30 frames per second video recorder mode on the other 3 camera systems on the main wide sensor. We're now recording in their respective super stability mode with action mode on the iPhone, active stabilization on the Pixel, as well as super stable on the Galaxy S23 Ultra. I've looked and it doesn't seem like the Huawei P60 Pro has such an option. If I have missed it, please let me know in the comment section below, but I've checked and it doesn't look like it has it. Let's just do a quick run and see. So we are recording in a 4K UHD 30 frames per second video recording mode on the Pixel 8, the iPhone 15 Pro Max, Huawei P60 Pro and the Galaxy S23 Ultra. And just seeing the low light performance. We're starting with the main camera. Just gonna point it up, see if there's any lens flaring and how they manage that. Pixel 8. switch to the ultra wide. Switch to the ultra wide. An ultra wide here. We're just going to switch to their optical sensors again, just because we are on low light. 3x, 5x, 5x, 4x respectively. One X, 1x, 1x. We're now recording in the 4K UHD 30 frames per second video recording mode. This time on a front-facing camera on the Pixel 8 Pro, iPhone 15 Pro Max, Huawei P60 Pro, and the Galaxy S23 Ultra. And just seeing how the front-facing camera low light performance is like. Wanted to showcase the 4K UHD 30 frames per second video recording mode on the Pixel 8 Pro, the iPhone 15 Pro Max, Huawei P60 Pro, and the Galaxy S23 Ultra. This time with the rear camera. I don't usually do this at night time, but I thought, you know what? I might as well just add it to see how the main cameras perform in low lights with me in the frame as the subject with the rear cameras. It's now time to analyze the pictures between the Pixel 8 Pro, iPhone 15 Pro Max, Huawei P60 Pro, and the Galaxy S23 Ultra. Boy, people, let's buckle up because Kansas City is going bye-bye, Dorothy. Yeah, this is going to be a long one. But yeah, I'm going to try my best to commentate, break it down, give you my opinion and just what my breakdown of what each image is. Let's look at the daylight images, starting with the landscape shots. So we're going to start from the ultra wide, and looking straight away, where my eyes gravitate to is definitely the iPhone 15 Pro Max and the Galaxy S23 Ultra, because they just have a much more richer image. Now the Pixel 8 Pro has great detail. It does lean for much more contrasty, slightly darker-ish image, as most people will interpret it as when it comes to looking at the ultra wide. And the Huawei P60 Pro actually strikes a nice balance between how the vibrancy and the contrast nature of both the iPhone 15 Pro Max and the Pixel 8 Pro look. So I really like the balance of what I'm seeing on the Huawei P60 Pro. But yeah, right now I would say which one I would pick. It's really just down to which one you like. When we move over to the main wide sensor, you can see that the look of each of these devices pretty much stay consistent. The Pixel, again, a slightly more contrasty, darker image with great detail, a more vibrant and punchy image on the Galaxy S23 Ultra and the iPhone 15 Pro Max, and a nice neutral, well-balanced one on the Huawei P60 Pro. But it does have the more punchier blue sky, which is something that it kicked in a lot more than I was expecting it to when moving to the main wide sensor. Now let's start moving into the zoom ranges. In this 2x mode, this is doing a digital crop of the main wide sensor. Now the iPhone, Pixel and the Samsung have kind of like an optimized 2x mode. This isn't something that's really there on the Huawei P60 Pro, so you do have to just do the crop manually with the slider. And again, you can see that the one that holds up a lot better is actually the Huawei P60 Pro in my eyes. I would say this is then followed by the Galaxy S23 Ultra, then the Pixel 8 Pro, then the iPhone 15 Pro Max. This is more down to the fact that if you look at the fence on the Pixel 8 Pro, there is a bit of color shifting and moire around the yellow fence. But again, it's all subjective. They're doing a great job all around. Next is the 3x mode. At this point, I'm just trying to match up each zoom range. And in this particular situation, it more favors the Galaxy S23 Ultra. Why? Because it is using a 3x dedicated zoom lens, whereas the Pixel, iPhone, and the Huawei are still doing a digital crop on a main wide sensor. They haven't kicked into the next phase of their dedicated zoom or telephoto fixed lens just yet. And with that, you can see that the Galaxy S23 Ultra is the one that favors the best look. In fact, it's then in my eyes followed by the Huawei P60 Pro and then the Pixel 8 Pro, which it can really be a toss-up between the Pixel 8 Pro and the Huawei P60 Pro, and then the iPhone 15 Pro Max. Again, I think the 15 Pro Max would be doing a lot better if it had a 3x lens. This is something you're going to find on the iPhone 15 Pro. But in the order of what looks best, this is where I would say is much favoring the Galaxy S23 Ultra. Next is the 3.5x zoom mode. Where does this favor? This favors the Huawei P60 Pro. This is now where the P60 Pro now kicks into its dedicated 3.5x zoom lens. And you can see that the image cleans up a lot better. With the Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra, it is now doing a 0.5x crop additional on the dedicated 3x zoom lens, so it's still holding up very well. So in this particular case, it would be the P60 Pro, Galaxy S23 Ultra, and then the Pixel 8 Pro. And the iPhone 15 Pro Max at this range really struggles, and it makes sense. That distance travel from that 2x to the 5x is a long one. Next is the 5x zoom mode. Where does this favor? Pixel 8 Pro and the iPhone 15 Pro Max, because now we are in their dedicated 5x fixed zoom lens. You can see the image really cleans up well. And this is where I would personally say the look of the Pixel 8 Pro is something I really like because the detail's there. And then followed by the iPhone 15 Pro Max. Then I would say the Huawei P60 Pro and the Galaxy S23 Ultra. To be fair, the Galaxy S23 Ultra and the Huawei look pretty much good and comparable when it comes to detail. It's just a look of the image that's slightly different, slightly darker on the P60 Pro and a brighter image on the Galaxy S23 Ultra. Next zoom range is the 10x mode, and this absolutely favors the Galaxy S23 Ultra because it is using a dedicated 10x zoom lens. And again, in daylight, even with the lower aperture in there, this is the clear winner when it comes to the super extended zoom range at 10x and beyond. The others actually hold up a lot better than I expected. I'll say Huawei's processing is actually a lot better than I was expecting. This is where I would say is actually holding up better than the Pixel 8 Pro and the iPhone 15 Pro Max in my opinion. But in this particular situation, it's the Galaxy S23 Ultra all the way. The next zoom range is 30x. Now, the iPhone 15 Pro Max only goes up to 25x as a pure maximum. And here, it is still the Galaxy S23 Ultra, and then followed by the Pixel 8 Pro in my opinion. Then it's really a toss-up between the Huawei P60 Pro and the iPhone 15 Pro Max. And then you do have the 100x zoom mode. This is only available on the Huawei P60 Pro and the Galaxy S23 Ultra, but you can clearly see the Huawei P60 Pro is doing this 100x zoom mode from a 3.5x optical zoom lens, whereas the Galaxy S23 Ultra is doing it from a 10x. It's much better processed. You can see it's a clearer image and it's just a better processing and color rendition. The others are again limited to 30x on the Pixel 8 Pro and 25x on the iPhone 15 Pro Max. So we're now looking at the high resolution JPEG modes on all these cameras. And with the Galaxy S23 Ultra, you've got the 50 megapixel mode and you do have the 200 megapixel mode. We're going to show that afterwards. Pixel 8 Pro has a 50 megapixel JPEG mode, and also the iPhone 15 Pro Max has got the 48 megapixel JPEG, as well as the Huawei P60 Pro has the 48 megapixel JPEG. Again, they do shoot in RAW as well. I just didn't bother because this is going to be a long enough camera comparison. I wanted to keep it to the point and as straightforward as possible. We're just going to focus on JPEG, but just for reference, you can shoot RAW high megapixel mode on these cameras. And this is their standard field of view. Again, they are pretty much well suited for daylight situation. The processing is a bit longer. I'll definitely say the Pixel 8 Pro really does a good job in terms of detail to my eyes. And then the iPhone 15 Pro Max and the Galaxy S23 Ultra, and then the Huawei P60 Pro. Again, the P60 Pro and the Samsung, it's a toss-up between them. It's just the look and the style, with the Samsung having a much more vibrant image in this particular situation. Taking feedback from previous camera comparisons, with these high resolution modes, this is a situation where I've actually done an additional crop by 100% on all of them, just so you can see the center detail difference between them. So let me know your thoughts as you see with the additional crop on these high resolution pictures. Next is showcasing the 200 megapixel JPEG mode. Again, with the 200 pixel mode, it's only available in JPEG. You cannot do this in RAW. For RAW, it's only 12 megapixels and 50 megapixels on the Galaxy S23 Ultra. But again, this is allowing you to utilize all 200 megapixels for the main camera sensor. Best place and time to use this is in daylight with enough light, and the processing does take a bit of time. And again, doing an additional 100 times crop on a 200 megapixel sensor, followed by an additional 200% crop on the 200 megapixel sensor, so you can see the center crop detail with this high resolution picture. Still in the high resolution 50 megapixels and 48 megapixel shooting modes, the Pixel 8 Pro does give you the option to do this on the ultra wide lens as well. Again, this is both in JPEG and in RAW. So there's a level of flexibility that you have because all the three cameras at the back of the Pixel 8 Pro are high resolution at 58 and 48 megapixels. And this can also be done in the 5x zoom mode on the Pixel 8 Pro in JPEG and in RAW. So there's a level of flexibility and detail that you get when it comes to the high resolution mode that is really nice on the Pixel 8 Pro if it's in daylight and you want to utilize it. So yeah, it's a pro mode feature. This is a good look from Google. So by some lucky off chance, I managed to get some sun. It's been a rainy downpour, and this time of the year in the UK, it's very difficult to get good weather, and daylight is short. It starts getting dark from near enough 4 p.m, 4:30 p.m. But in this particular situation with a direct shot against the sun, the Pixel 8 Pro really handles it well. The Galaxy S23 Ultra follows up by actually controlling the sun exposure really well with good shadow detail, but shadow detail 100% is slightly better on the Pixel 8 Pro. 15 Pro Max did really well, and the Huawei P60 Pro did okay, did a lot better than I was actually expecting. So actually all of them handle great HDR in this particular situation, but I'll definitely say shadow detail on the Pixel 8 Pro is really good. Same consistency goes when it comes to the ultra wide. Lens flaring is managed well across the board. There is much more lens flaring intensity on the P60 Pro with a massive purple shift within the lens when you're looking at directly at the sun. But overall, I think all of them stay consistent. The shadow detail on the Pixel 8 Pro is just phenomenal, and then followed by the Galaxy S23 Ultra and the iPhone 15 Pro Max. Next is some close-up shots of this flower. Yes, autumn is pretty much here on all these devices on the main camera sensor, just to see the minimum focusing and just how they render that image when using the main camera sensor. And all of them actually are very consistent. It's very hard to tell them apart. Again, one thing that plagues the iPhone 15 Pro Max is that the minimum focusing distance on the main camera lens is not all that great compared to the others. So that's definitely something to consider. And of course, with all of them, if you're still sticking to the main camera sensor, past a certain point, it is gonna blur out. But what is great to see is that all of them do have a macro mode feature, which really allows you to get up close and personal. I really like the look of the iPhone 15 Pro Max, but all of them do a really good job having a macro mode, which is helpful if you want to get up close and personal. Time for some front-facing camera shots with selfies. And across the board, I always say this, for my skin rendition, the Pixel 8 Pro nails it right. And then followed by, in my opinion, the iPhone 15 Pro Max, then the Galaxy S23 Ultra, then the Huawei P60 Pro. Yeah, Google really have it down when it comes to the skin rendition, and they also just have a pixel look to them. And once that know and seeing images from pixels, it's pretty much being consistent across the board. Next is portrait mode. So portrait mode is where we have here with the edge detection. Edge detection is actually good on all of them. Again, the look of the image is just consistent across the board, preferred on the Pixel 8 Pro, then the iPhone 15 Pro Max, then the Galaxy S23 Ultra, then the Huawei P60 Pro. But actually all of them have done really good. I just like the realistic look of the blur on the iPhone 15 Pro Max. This is something I've said before, but edge detection is good on all. Really pleased with the image when it comes to portrait mode with the front-facing camera. Okay, last set of daylight shots with the rear camera with me in the frame as a subject. Let's start with the main wide sensor. And yeah, for me, definitely the Pixel 8 Pro in terms of skin rendition and look, HDR, definitely the one I prefer. I'll then say that it's somewhere between picking the look of the iPhone 15 Pro Max and the Galaxy S23 Ultra. The iPhone 15 Pro Max scenery is good, but it's just darkened me way too much. So S23 Ultra, iPhone 15 Pro Max, and the Huawei P60 Pro. Again, the Huawei P60 Pro actually looks good. It's just it makes my skin look a bit more red than I would like, but overall, I think it does a good job. Moving over to the ultra wide, in this particular situation, the Pixel 8 Pro has darkened my skin a little bit, but I still prefer the look of it. And then it's the iPhone 15 Pro Max. In this particular situation, the Galaxy S23 Ultra's ultra wide field of view isn't as wide as the others, and it's reddened my skin a bit more than I would like. And then the P60 Pro actually really holds well in that particular situation because the ultra wide field of view is really strong there. So I would actually, in this case, pick it over the Galaxy S23 Ultra. So now in the 2x mode, I would say in terms of skin rendition and look, the Pixel 8 Pro still does it for me. I would then pick the iPhone 15 Pro Max next, even though I still don't like the fact that it darkens my skin just a bit too much. But again, I'd rather have that with a bit more accurate tinting compared to what we're seeing with the Galaxy S23 Ultra, which is quite on the red side. And the Huawei P60 Pro actually holds up well. I would say the P60 Pro in this particular situation, and then the Galaxy S23 Ultra. Moving over to the 3x zoom mode, this is going to be 3x optical on the Galaxy S23 Ultra, 3.5x optical on the Huawei P60 Pro, 3x and 3x digital on the Pixel 8 Pro and the iPhone 15 Pro Max. And again, you can see clarity-wise, the Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra does a really good job. I just wish it managed in terms of the red balancing on my face a bit better, but clarity is really good. In this particular situation, I'll be honest with you, the Huawei P60 Pro takes it, then I would pick the Galaxy S23 Ultra, then the Pixel 8 Pro, then the iPhone 15 Pro Max. The 15 Pro Max does look quite soft. It is struggling a little bit, but it holds its own the best it can without having a dedicated 3x zoom lens. Moving over to the 5x zoom mode. Again, this is a digital crop and a 3x sensor on the Galaxy S23 Ultra, a digital crop on a 3.5x lens on the Huawei P60 Pro, and a dedicated 5x zoom on the iPhone 15 Pro Max and the Pixel 8 Pro. And in this particular situation, the color shift on the Pixel 8 Pro has surprised me. It is leaning a bit more redder than expected, but it's still within the tolerance of what I would like. So definitely the Pixel 8 Pro, iPhone 15 Pro Max, Galaxy S23 Ultra, which is now balanced out well in 5x zoom, and then the Huawei P60 Pro. Let's run it back with portrait mode. What you have to understand with portrait mode is each camera has different portrait mode features from 1x, 2x, 3x, 3.5x, or 1x, 2x, and 5x in respect to the iPhone 15 Pro Max. There is no way to match them up together. Now, of course, what you can do with some of the camera systems like the Pixel 8 Pro and the Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra is, with the standard pictures, you can go into the edit and change them with background blur effect. It's a lot more consistent on the Pixel 8 Pro and a bit more inconsistent on the Galaxy S23 Ultra, but these are options that you can do outside of the normal focal length if it detects it. But default within camera, you've got 1x, 2x, 3x, 3.5x, and 5x respective to each camera system. In the 1x or the 1.5x mode for the Pixel 8 Pro, this is what we're seeing. I'll definitely say the blur rendition on the Samsung is brilliant. If we're gonna just take away the look of the skin rendition, which is consistent to before, the background blur, edge detection on the Galaxy S23 Ultra is really, really nice. It's a lot more realistic on the iPhone, which is something I like. The Pixel does a good job, but it over fuzzes around the ears a little bit. And the Huawei P60 Pro actually nails it. Even the gaps in between my arms nails it really well. And I would say that actually is a dark horse in this one, minus the skin rendition. It does a really good job when it comes to background blur portrait mode. Now, where they do match up is the 2x mode across the board when it comes to portrait. Again, very consistent across the board. I would say the detail that I'm seeing on the Galaxy S23 Ultra and edge detection is really, really good. Pixel 8 Pro holds up well, but you know, the gaps in between my legs, it struggles a little bit there in some cases. But overall, I think all of them are consistent to before. They actually do a good job in the 2x mode. Here's where there's just major differences in the extended zoom range for portrait mode. Now, the Pixel 8 Pro does have a 3x zoom mode for portrait, but you have to slide it. It doesn't show you on the face of the camera UI. It shows you 1.5x, 2x, and you have to press it, slide it to 3x to get a 3x option. It struggles in 3x. I personally wouldn't use the 3x mode for portrait on the Pixel 8 Pro in my particular opinion. You probably have a better chance taking a normal picture and doing a portrait mode after, but within camera, it struggles. Whereas you look at the Galaxy S23 Ultra, I think that's the sweet spot of having a 3x, same as the Huawei. The Huawei is a bit soft, but the edge detection and blur is spot on. Really good job there. Now, the iPhone it's an interesting one, right? 5x portrait in there, utilizing the 5x zoom, this is great. This is something Google need to do on the Pixel 8 Pro. The thing is, you need a lot of space. But boy, when you've got space and you nail that 5x portrait mode, it looks butter. Really, really good. So it's a give and take where I still think the 3x mode or zoom range is the best for portrait mode. But if you can nail that 5x, you got room for on the iPhone, yeah, those portrait mode stuff look clean. Let's turn off the lights and look at some low light images of the Pixel 8 Pro, iPhone 15 Pro Max, Huawei P60 Pro, and the Galaxy S23 Ultra. Again, we're gonna start with the landscape images. And if you've not been here before, when I do my low light images, I always do them first without night mode for the fastest capture experience. And then with night mode, which does take longer, you do need to be still and does give you the brighter, cleaner image exposure with the processing applied on each phone after. I'll be honest with you, I went through the trenches with this night mode, and I'll have to give a big early shout out to Ali. Now, he's a local, he saw me struggling to do this. This was my second time around trying to get these night shots, and he out of nowhere as a random decided to offer his help. So I said to him, he should leave a comment below, and I will pin his comment at the top so you all can show him love for how he supported me to make sure I got these pictures done, especially when we get to the rare images with me in the frame as the subject. Doing that by myself, it's an absolute pain, especially with the bad weather in the situation. Kind of wanted to get it out there. But yeah, first is without night mode, starting with the ultra wide, and instantly when you look at the brighter image, it is the P60 Pro. Trust me, I triple and double checked. Night mode was not active at all. You have to go into a separate night mode function to actually use it. So it wasn't on, there wasn't any auto night mode feature doing it. I just think how it does is post processing really amplifies things automatically, and it's not something I can really change in respect to. So definitely the Huawei P60 Pro does look cleaner. I would say with a brighter image, but slightly more noise, the iPhone 15 Pro Max is there. I would say a cleaner image balanced out is definitely the Pixel 8 Pro. There is the color shifting around the lamp still with the Samsung that I still don't really like it, and it's a very soft image. So Pixel 8 Pro, iPhone 15 Pro Max, Huawei P60 Pro, and then the Galaxy S23 Ultra. Again, the Huawei P60 Pro is brighter, but I don't really like the red shifting on the pavement that you're seeing. So that's just personal choice on my side there. Next is the main wide sensor, and for me personally, the Galaxy S23 Ultra really cleans up well. I would have that as my first pick, then the Pixel 8 Pro, iPhone 15 Pro Max, and the Huawei P60 Pro. And again, the Huawei P60 Pro does look clear. It's just how it shifts the color and the red toning within the image really puts me off for some reason. But in terms of the actual brightness, exposure, and detail is really good. So take that for what it is in respect to. In the 2x mode, the Pixel 8 Pro definitely takes it for me. Much cleaner, much detailed image. I definitely like the Pixel 8 Pro. I would say next would be the Huawei P60 Pro. It's really toned down the redness of the image, so I really like that next. Then the Galaxy S23 Ultra, then the iPhone 15 Pro Max. The iPhone 15 Pro Max more for the fact that if you look at the foliage and the grass, it does lose detail and there is more noise in the image overall from what I'm seeing. Next is the 3x mode, and again, this is matching up to the 3x that you would see on the Galaxy S23 Ultra. And again, that one is where it's holding up really well. There is slightly more noise in the image. I would say noise reduction is really done well with maintaining decent detail on a Pixel 8 Pro, all things considered. And then I would say the Huawei P60 Pro, but it is a bit muddy and the color shifting. So that could be a toss up between the iPhone 15 Pro Max. I'll probably say the iPhone 15 Pro Max edges it out compared to the Huawei P60 Pro because of maintaining better colors across the board. In the 3.5x dedicated zoom mode, again, this favors the Huawei P60 Pro, definitely cleans up a lot better. I would say between that and the Pixel 8 Pro, it's quite even. I would say a slightly cleaner image on the Pixel 8 Pro, then the P60 Pro, then the Galaxy S23 Ultra, and the iPhone 15 Pro Max is really struggling out of the four. In a 5x zoom mode, although it is a slightly darker image, the Pixel 8 Pro definitely takes it here for sure. Then followed by the iPhone 15 Pro Max. Then I would personally say the Huawei P60 Pro, and then the Galaxy S23 Ultra does struggle the most out of the four. And of course, doing a super dedicated extended zoom in the 10x. This is using a dedicated 10x on the Galaxy S23 Ultra, and because of the low aperture and smaller sensor overall, it is the darkest image out of the three, even though it is using the dedicated 10x. And then you've got the Pixel 8 Pro really cleaning up well. Then I would say the Huawei P60 Pro, and then the iPhone 15 Pro Max, followed by the Galaxy S23 Ultra in that order. Now let's double back and run it back now with night mode. Again, same sequence, ultra wide, and you can really see it over accentuates it so much more on the Huawei P60 Pro. Definitely don't like the look of night mode on that with the ultra wide. The other three benefit really well. I would say the iPhone 15 Pro Max is the one that cleans up well, then followed by the Pixel 8 Pro, and then the Galaxy S23 Ultra, then the P60 Pro. Moving over to the main wide sensor, I'll definitely pick first place for the Galaxy S23 Ultra. Really balances out well. Then I would say the iPhone 15 Pro Max, Pixel 8 Pro, and then the Huawei P60 Pro. Moving over to the 2x zoom mode. Here, it pretty much is an even pickings between the four. It's really just down to the look that you like. Which one do I like personally? I'll be honest, my eyes gravitate to the iPhone 15 Pro Max, and then the Pixel 8 Pro, then the Galaxy S23 Ultra, and the P60 Pro. The P60 Pro really looks, it just looks weird. Something looks too overprocessed. I think night mode overpowers it in the 2x mode when doing that. When in the 3x mode, I will say the Pixel 8 Pro, when looking at the sign as well as the grass, does have the better exposed and detailed image. Next is then between the Galaxy S23 Ultra and the iPhone 15 Pro Max. I picked the iPhone 15 Pro Max because of the detail of the sign, but then also if you look at the detail of the grass, it is slightly better preserved on the Galaxy S23 Ultra, not by much. I would say the iPhone 15 Pro Max, Galaxy S23 Ultra, and then the Huawei P60 Pro. Even though it does have good detail on the sign, the overall surrounding image just looks overprocessed. Now in the 3.5x zoom mode, I'll definitely say the Huawei P60 Pro cleans up really well. I would actually still pick the Pixel 8 Pro, then the Huawei, and then it would actually be the Galaxy S23 Ultra, and then the iPhone 15 Pro Max. It's a tough one. Again, these are my picks. Let me know what. Next is the 5x zoom mode, and the color shifting on the iPhone 15 Pro Max really overpowers it in night mode, where I'm not liking the look of it. The Pixel 8 Pro stays a lot more consistent. Then I would actually pick the P60 Pro from Huawei, then the Galaxy S23 Ultra, and then the iPhone 15 Pro Max. And last but not least, the 10x mode with night mode. And you can see the difference from what we experienced with the 10x mode on the Galaxy S23 Ultra without night mode to night mode. Huge help. But still, I do prefer the image from the others, and it's a tough one. I would say iPhone 15 Pro Max, then followed by the P60 Pro from Huawei, Pixel 8 Pro, then the Galaxy S23 Ultra when looking at the 10x zoom mode. Time for some front-facing low light selfie images. And in this particular one, I sequenced it with the standard shooting mode, then night mode, then front screen flash. I then replicated this again for portrait mode. And what you're gonna notice is consistently across the board, the Galaxy S23 Ultra and the Pixel 8 Pro, especially the Pixel 8 Pro, are going to give you the most reliable front-facing camera low light experience. For example, in the selfie portrait mode, you can do night mode and selfie portrait mode on the Pixel 8 Pro and the Galaxy S23 Ultra. This is something you cannot do on the iPhone 15 Pro Max and the Huawei P60 Pro. Again, if you've seen any of my previous camera comparisons, this is a year-on-year limitation on iPhones, and this is the same on the Huawei. The Pixel 8 Pro and the Samsung are going to give you the best low light experience when it comes to the front-facing camera, whether night mode, without night mode, with flash and portrait mode. It works across the board. And the Pixel 8 Pro for me steals the show when it comes to the front-facing camera for low light. Final stretch with the last remaining rare pictures with me in the frame as a subject. We're going to go through so many different shooter modes. And again, I couldn't thank Ali enough for him helping out of nowhere, man. just came, and the struggle I was having using timers and repositioning, he came and it just saved me having to stand outside for what could have been close for 2-3 hours. Did it within 30 to 45 minutes across all phones, so really appreciate the help on that one. Let's start the ultra wide. Again, without night mode active, Galaxy S23 Ultra falls apart completely. I would actually say the Huawei P60 Pro definitely takes it. Balances out well when it comes to having a human in the subject. And then I would then say iPhone 15 Pro Max, Pixel 8 Pro, and then the Galaxy S23 Ultra. Next is the main wide sensor. Definitely Pixel 8 Pro for me. Once you move to the main wide sensor, it just looks so detailed, well balanced, realistic exposure. The Galaxy S23 Ultra does well. It kind of punches a little bit above. It does have more detail. I like the colors of the 15 Pro Max, but I like the detail of the Galaxy S23 Ultra and a slightly wider field of view. So I would say, well, it's a toss-up. Let me go Galaxy S23 Ultra, 15 Pro Max, and then it really holds it with its own on the Huawei P60 Pro together, actually, in my opinion, with the Galaxy S23 Ultra. So yeah, let me know your pick between the two. I think it's a draw with the Galaxy S23 Ultra and the P60 Pro, and then because of the lack of detail, iPhone 15 Pro Max lost. In the 2x mode in low light, I would say all of them in their own right do struggle. The image does fall apart. Out of the four, the one that holds best detail, in my opinion, is actually the Huawei P60 Pro, then followed by the Pixel 8 Pro, and then the Galaxy S23 Ultra, even though it does have a bit more noise, and then the iPhone 15 Pro Max, which does look softer out of the four when it comes to the 2x mode. Now in the 3x zoom mode and 3.5x zoom mode on the P60 Pro respectively, and 3x digital on the iPhone 15 Pro Max and the Pixel 8 Pro, you can definitely tell on the 3x dedicated zoom without night mode, the Galaxy S23 Ultra is a struggle fest, definitely isn't part of it. I would say Pixel 8 Pro, iPhone 15 Pro Max, Huawei P60 Pro, and then the Galaxy S23 Ultra. Same goes for the 5x mode. Again, the 5x is doing a digital crop on the Galaxy S23 Ultra. I did not bother doing the 10x mode in low light. With me in the frame as a subject, it was just going to be too much of a struggle. So we stuck it only as far as 5x, and just putting that out there. Again, I would definitely say it's a struggle on all of them. You can't really pick, but if I'm going to pick in order, I'm going to go Pixel 8 Pro, iPhone 15 Pro Max, Huawei P60 Pro, and then the Galaxy S23 Ultra. Let's double back and run it back. Night mode, again with the same sequence, starting with the ultra wide. And definitely from what we saw before on the Galaxy S23 Ultra, my goodness, what a difference night mode makes with a human in the frame as the subject. I definitely would pick the Galaxy S23 Ultra first, then the iPhone 15 Pro Max, and then the Pixel 8 Pro and the Huawei P60 Pro. The Huawei P60 Pro is just a discoloration. It does have a nice ultra wide field of view. I really like it, but the colors just look a bit off to me in my opinion. So that's the order of sequence that I would pick. When moving to the main 1x wide sensor with night mode active, all of them clean up well. I personally think the one that cleans up really good is the iPhone 15 Pro Max, then followed by the Pixel 8 Pro, and then the Galaxy S23 Ultra, and then the P60 Pro. Again, detail is great across the board. I'm just more looking at the colors that I like and prefer. That's the order I've picked, and that's why we've got the sequence in here. Okay, 2x mode with night mode active, and for me, the Galaxy S23 Ultra is the one that really holds up well. I would pick that first, then the iPhone 15 Pro Max, Pixel 8 Pro, and the Huawei P60 Pro. Moving to the respective 3x zoom and 3.5x zoom on the Huawei P60 Pro. Although it's greatly improved on the Galaxy S23 Ultra, the sky is green, the whole colors are completely off, so that's last place for me. What I would pick first definitely would be, in my opinion here, iPhone 15 Pro Max, and then actually the P60 Pro, and then the Pixel 8 Pro, and then followed by the Galaxy S23 Ultra. Now the 5x zoom mode with night mode active, for some reason the Pixel 8 Pro, the image is just way too soft for my liking. Detail wise, I definitely prefer the iPhone 15 Pro Max. Then I would say in terms of brightness and exposure, Galaxy S23 Ultra, and then the P60 Pro, and then the Pixel 8 Pro. Let's do some flash photography. Again, same sequence or similar sequence, but with flash photography. One limitation that you'll see is the Galaxy S23 Ultra does not allow you to use the flash when you're in ultra wide. So again, I hope Samsung fixes this. It's not a deal breaker, but it's just something that it can't do. When it comes to flash exposure, definitely iPhone does a good job, but it is quite a noisy image. In this particular one, I would say P60 Pro first, then iPhone 15 Pro Max, then the Pixel 8 Pro. The Pixel 8 Pro's flash is very, very subtle. And then, of course, without being able to do it, the Galaxy S23 Ultra. Moving to the main wide sensor with the flash active, the iPhone is very bright, but I like the look of the P60 Pro. It's nice and subtle with a kind of like a downtoned look on the Galaxy S23 Ultra and the Pixel 8 Pro, but I would actually, in terms of brightness exposure, P60 Pro, iPhone 15 Pro Max, Galaxy S23 Ultra because of the look, and then the Pixel 8 Pro, even though the Pixel 8 Pro is slightly brighter, but I think it's just more post-processing than using a flash. When moving to the 2x mode with the flash, I would still pick the P60 Pro for flash exposure, and then this time around the Pixel 8 Pro, then the iPhone 15 Pro Max, and then the Galaxy S23 Ultra. When switching to the 3x zoom mode with flash, definitely Pixel 8 Pro first, and then the Huawei P60 Pro, then the iPhone 15 Pro Max, and then the Galaxy S23 Ultra. So in this 5x zoom mode, I'll definitely pick, in this particular situation, it's a tough one, but Pixel 8 Pro, and then the Huawei P60 Pro, even though the discoloration is there, but we're looking at it more from flash exposure. And then I would pick the iPhone 15 Pro Max and then the Galaxy S23 Ultra, which is the darkest out of the three. Again, this is more based on flash exposure. You can judge it any other way that you prefer. Now for portrait mode. And again, here's where you're going to see some interesting limitations or advantages on each camera system. First, without night mode, you can see that with portrait mode active, with the 1x lens or 1.5x or 1x respectively, yeah, the Galaxy S23 Ultra is the one that I'm really liking, followed by the Pixel 8 Pro. Again, you can see that it struggles with the blur in some areas, but the Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra, when it comes to edge detection and blur, which is what we're going to judge it mostly on for low light portrait mode, is really doing a good job. Then followed by the iPhone 15 Pro Max, and then the Huawei P60 Pro really struggles around my right ear. But yeah, in that particular order sequence, that's what I would pick. Again, in the 2x mode, it's Samsung all the way. When it comes to low light portrait mode, even without night mode active, Samsung is really taking it. Then followed by the iPhone 15 Pro Max, and then the Pixel 8 Pro and the Huawei P60 Pro. Again, the Pixel 8 Pro and the Huawei P60 Pro, they really struggle. What struggles more is the edge detection on a Huawei P60 Pro. But yeah, definitely, Galaxy S23 Ultra is king when it comes to this part. And of course, matching all the extended zoom ranges for portrait mode, 3x, 3x, 3.5x, and 5x respectively on the iPhone 15 Pro Max, 3.5x on a Huawei, 3x, 3x on the Galaxy S23 Ultra, and the Pixel 8 Pro. Pixel 8 Pro for me, then I would say the iPhone 15 Pro Max, even though it's a softer image, but the blur does look good. Blur is interestingly okay on the P60 Pro this time around, and then the Galaxy S23 Ultra in this extended zoom mode. But yeah, that's the order sequence that I would go. Trying to run the same sequence back with night mode active, and this is where you're going to start seeing some interesting quirks and limitations. You've watched my previous camera comparisons, you would know, but I'm going to walk you through it. You can do night mode with the 1x zoom dedicated wide sensor in portrait mode on the Samsung, Pixel, and the iPhone 15 Pro Max. There is no option to do this on a Huawei, but it really post-processes it and compensates well. And you look through it and there's no option, and it seems to be holding up well, even though it does struggle when it comes to edge detection in that sense. So here we are. I would definitely say in this particular situation, it's between the Samsung and the iPhone, and then followed by the Pixel. And this is more down to the look of the blur, edge detection, as well as the detail that you're getting. Really liking what's being produced on the iPhone and the Samsung, followed by the Pixel, and then the P60 Pro. Things stay consistent. Where you're gonna get the best low light performance and consistency in usage is with the Pixel and the Samsung. In the 2x mode, you can do night mode with portrait mode at the same time. You cannot do this on the iPhone, and of course you can't do this on a Huawei, so I'm just showing what it's like when it does that. Portrait mode just doesn't work if you go into the 2x mode with night mode there. It just doesn't give you the option. When you do flash, which I'll show you after, it works, But night mode doesn't work in a 2x and a 5x. You get that flexibility. So for this one, it is going to be Galaxy S23 Ultra because of the superior edge detection, then the Pixel 8 Pro. And then you've got the rest that follow that aren't able to do in the extended 2x mode. And I showcase in the 3x portrait mode for the Galaxy S23 Ultra and the 3x mode, you can still do night mode with portrait mode together. But for me, it's the Galaxy S23 Ultra all the way. Superior edge detection, really well done there. Night mode, when it comes to portrait mode and portrait low light all together, man, is Pixel and Samsung all the way. But because Samsung does it really well all the way through the rear cameras, it's Samsung all the way when it comes to this one. Now, trying to run the same sequence back using flash, and you can see that you do not have the option to use flash and portrait mode together with the Huawei P60 Pro. So objectively, this is just something it cannot do. Now, subjectively, my pick is definitely going to be the Pixel 8 Pro, and then followed by the Galaxy S23 Ultra, then the iPhone 15 Pro Max. Another thing to consider when moving into the 2x mode, for some reason, there's just an error with using portrait mode with flash in 2x mode. It just overly zooms in on the Samsung phone. You cannot actually get a good final image. This is definitely a bug. It's a consistent bug that I've reported on, so I hope they fix it. But yeah, straight to the 3x zoom mode with flash compared to the 2x zoom mode with flash on a Pixel 8 Pro and the iPhone 15 Pro Max. For the error that you get on the Samsung, definitely for me, I'm picking a Pixel 8 Pro, then followed by the iPhone 15 Pro Max, and then the Galaxy S23 Ultra, and then the P60 Pro, which doesn't allow you to use flash in portrait mode. And final image for low light is the 5x zoom mode for portrait with flash. Again, you can do it, but the image is very soft on iPhone 15 Pro Max, so I definitely wouldn't recommend it. This one definitely goes to the Pixel 8 Pro, and then goes to the Galaxy S23 Ultra, then the iPhone 15 Pro Max, then the Huawei P60 Pro, because again, it can't do flash with portrait mode in low light. But yeah, avoid using a 5x mode for portrait, even with flash in low light at all for the iPhone 15 Pro Max. Let's wrap things up, starting with the video performance with the front-facing camera on all 4 of these camera systems. Again, pound for pound, they do weigh up very well against each other. They all can shoot up to 4K 60 FPS, which is great to see. If you look at the Huawei P60 Pro, it does have 3 modes when it comes to the wide field of view, which is really great. So you can get a really nice wide field of view. That's an option there. But overall video performance really does lean to the iPhone 15 Pro Max and the Galaxy S23 Ultra for the sheer fact that you are able to do things like video portrait mode on a selfie camera with the blur. This is something you cannot do on a front-facing camera on the Pixel and the Huawei. So I would say overall video performance really does weigh up between the Samsung and the iPhone. Then with the rear video camera capabilities, it's really great to see the flexibility in 4K 60 FPS that was started on the Pixel 7 Pro series and now carries over to the Pixel 8 Pro series, adapted by the iPhone 15 Pro Max, where you're able to switch between the lenses without having to stop recording. I've said this before, this is a limitation on the Galaxy S23 series, and the Ultra is no different. You do have to stop recording and then switch lenses and then continue recording in 4K 60. I hope they rectify in the next generation. You don't have this problem on the P60 Pro, but again, just be wary. There is no 60 frames a second option on the ultra wide, whether in 4K, 1080p or 720p, which is a shame. You can do 4K 30 on the ultra wide, you just can't do 4K 60. But when you're recording on 4K 60, you can switch from the main 1x to the dedicated 3.5x, and it shows up as 4x in video for some reason. That you've got that flexibility, so that's great to see. Overall video flexibility, I still praise Samsung. In 4K 30, they've got the most flexible 4K video experience where you're able to pause recording, continue recording on the same clip, mainly switch to the selfie and switch back to the rear cameras. I love this. And of course, you've got 8K video recording at 30 FPS with stabilization and minimal field of view crop, which is great to see. That is an advantage that you get on the Samsung, but of course, not showcased here. The iPhone does allow you to shoot ProRes video. It does allow you to shoot video externally via USB-C, and you've got a logarithmic log profile in there. So the video capabilities of the iPhone is really, really flexible. And one thing I've said, it's an underrated feature on iPhones this time around, is how smooth the lens transition and switching is from the ultra wide 1x, 2x, all the way up to 5x. It's so smooth. It is such an underrated feature. I just hope Apple give you the flexibility to be able to pause recording on the same clip and continue recording on the same clip, and also switch to the selfie, just like what Samsung does. Same goes for the Pixel and the Huawei. But overall, you saw the video performance earlier. This is just a wrap up of it. So again, this is pretty much the camera performance between these 4 camera systems. So that is it with my ultimate camera comparison between these Goliath of phones for 2023 and beyond: the Pixel 8 Pro, iPhone 15 Pro Max, Huawei P60 Pro, and the Galaxy S23 Ultra. If you made it to the end and to this far, put a fist bump emoji in the comment section below so I know you are a real one. Thank you to everyone that helped, your patience. Let me know if I'm in over my head for doing a 4-way camera comparison, as if doing a 2-way and a 3-way wasn't hard enough. Now I'm doing 4-way camera comparisons, but it's all because you wanted to see it. So again, thank you so much for your patience. Thank you for taking time to watch it. And that's it for me, Ben from Lover of Tech. If you enjoy videos like this, you know exactly what to do. Hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you're part of Team TLS, the Tech Lover Squad, so you don't miss any new videos on the channel. I hope you're all safe during this time. And then let's try and get this video to like 8K or even 10K likes. And I'll get you into something that's going to be really good for next year when it comes to 2024. I promise you that. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.